Hello and welcome back to a part 2 of the PM&R Getting into Residency presentation. I am in a suit because I actually just was part of an interview, so I decided to stay in the outfit to stay in character for this presentation. And the reason why I wanted to make a part 2 of this presentation is because it is getting a lot more competitive in PM&R, getting into a residency. Number of residency positions grew by 26%. That is good over the past decade. However, the number of applicants grew at a higher rate, 37%. So the applicant to position ratio has certainly gone up. Now that was 2010 to 2020. We'll get more information as we move along into 2030. Things are starting to level out, but it is not the way it used to be. I was in medical school in 1997. Numbers were a little different back then. Now, some people might argue, yeah, well, it's not incredibly competitive like orthopedic surgery or dermatology. And yes, while the raw numbers are certainly less, there are less total applicants per position, it is very misleading because the applicants are getting progressively more and more qualified as we move on. Higher step 1, higher step 2 scores, better and more filled out abstracts, publications, presentations. Their CVs look great. I review these in our department here, and gosh, these applicants are getting much better every year. The step 2 score is going up as well. So, it's not as saturated as the incredible competitive residencies, but the bar is going up for PM&R as well. Now, one thing interesting about PM&R, it is very DO friendly. DOs are doctors that go to osteopathy school and traditionally have a lot more hands-on procedural skills, which is certainly applicable to the field of PM&R. It is also IMG friendly, so if you are an international medical graduate, you may have a chance of getting into PM&R as well. Put up the numbers here. Now these numbers do change over the years, but just so you can get a general sense of what is going on in terms of MDs, DOs, and IMGs. Now, one thing I wanted to spend a little more time on in this presentation was really deconstructing that ideal candidate so you can get a better grip of the type of person you need to be and the type of person that is viewed as very positive in the interview process. PM&R is a very unique field in that it treats the whole person, and parallel to that, program directors want to see candidates who are, holistic in their overall attitude and view and how they balance themselves out as a person. The personality can be just as important, almost equal importance as their academic standing in terms of interviews, because the field of PM&R is all about the human element, right? Improving the human as a person, their function in society, their independence with activities of daily living, maximize their functional improvement, and you maximize the patient's quality of life. That's what PM&R is all about. It's not focused on one single organ system like the heart or the kidneys. It is truly treating the whole person. Now, because of that, when program directors interview applicants, it can become quite subjective, and that is very true. It's harder now to really objectively determine an applicant's competitiveness because one interviewer may look at one part of an applicant's personality and rate that heavier or higher than another part of their personality. So it has become a little more difficult over the years. Now, students sometimes, this has been talked about and reported, and you can find this all over online, may have great, incredible step 1 and step 2 scores, be rocking it in terms of their numbers, and they still fail to match, whereas other students that kind of squeaked by on their step 1 and step 2 have that great personality and well-balanced application, and therefore well-balanced person. They're the ones that get in, even at competitive programs. So this success in matching in PM&R is not simply just getting high scores and making your numbers look good. It's more than that. And so how do you stand out? Well, if you can create a cohesive storyline, so to speak, from MS1 through MS4, connecting all of your experiences and building a narrative that is just, can't fail, can't miss, that is really going to resonate with the program directors that are interviewing you. Again, this is like with any interview, you certainly want to be genuine in your interests and passions. Don't, pretend like you're interested in a certain field of PM&R if you're not. That's not going to fly. You don't want to do the general cliched stories. Oh, I sprained my ankle in college and I got really interested in physical therapy, so that's why I want to go into PM&R. They're going to kind of see through that. Even though I hurt my knee, I went into physical therapy in college and got interested in PM&R that way. There needs to be more to that story, right? Create that story that really convinces your program director that this person knows PM&R inside and out. They know what it is to be a physiatrist, and they're going to want to hire you. Please, this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't talk about the general good hours that are associated with physiatry. It's not really a nights and weekends on call all the time type of field. Don't talk about the great lifestyle as why you want to go into PM&R. The attendings are not going to want to listen. So now on to the personal statement. Now the whole point of the personal statement is not simply just repeating everything in your CV now in personal statement form and not talking all about your experiences. It's really more demonstrating them, if that makes sense. It's the kind of show, don't tell format. So instead of just talking about your compassion or your resiliency, review a story, recount a story that allows that reader, that program director, to really infer the qualities that you're trying to let shine through in your personal statement. Many students are now starting to write journals. This whole concept of narrative medicine is starting to grow, and I've told this to a lot of students from MS 1 year. Get a journal or a book and start writing down patient stories and memorable experiences so that at the end of MS4 year and you're writing your personal statement, you have a whole, quite literally, book of experiences that you can lean on and talk about, which obviously is much more authentic and genuine and a lot more memorable to the program directors who are interviewing you. Now, continuing along, research is actually really unique. Some programs are very strong in research and really value research. Other programs, not so much. They're much more on the clinical applications and the clinical focus. So it's one lucky thing if you don't like research. You're okay if you're going into PM&R. That doesn't mean there's zero abstracts or publications on your CV. If you're the typical average PM&R applicant, there certainly are, as you can see here, but not a huge list of 20 plus publications. Now, what else is going on the CV? Well, all those different extracurriculums, the things that help to round you out as a person and make you look like you would really fit in with PM&R. Obviously, volunteering on people with various disabilities, disability rights organizations, adaptive sports, right, like people with amputees and spinal cord injury and whatnot, are of course great experiences, help grow and build you and your character as a person, and is going to help you in the field of PM&R for sure. These are very highly valued extracurriculars that really show the program director you mean business. Here's a nice little summary chart of the strategy for the extracurriculars, whether it's research, volunteering, or balancing things out with doing some leadership experiences or excelling in clinical areas. This can help make your CV look very well balanced. Now moving on to the away rotation, especially if your medical school does not have a PM&R residency, that is critical. Even if your program does have one, you might want to do an audition rotation where you apply to some place you want to go to on the West Coast or East Coast, New York, Stanford, you name it. It's certainly going to increase your chances of getting an interview at that program if you've done a rotation or an audition there. It's also a way to kind of get your foot in the front door if you know everyone already that you're about to get to be interviewed by. Now, those are all the good things about an away rotation, but there are some negatives too, and the big one being time and cost. I mean, you have to literally pay double rent. You're a medical student, you're not working, you're paying rent where you're living in your home, medical school, and then now you got to pay rent for another month at a away rotation. You got to do all meals and travel. It really adds up. The key thing to remember here is just because you do an away rotation, you're not guaranteed an interview, and that's why signaling is key in this situation. But it's a benefit. When you do an away rotation, it allows allows you to really see if you like the culture and just the way the program runs, and it allows the program to see if this person who's excelling or not as a sub-I would be a good fit as an actual intern and resident. Now, let's say you've landed that away rotation or the rotation at your school. How do you excel at it? Well, it's basically switch your mindset to a PM&R history-taking medical student. Know their rehab-centric history, know their prior level of function, know their dispo options. Do they live alone? Do they have stairs? Do they need a wheelchair access into their house? It's really shifting from the acute care of a patient comes in with a heart attack and you just focus on the heart, now to the whole body approach, maximize their level of function. Also a big thing with PM&R is team-based care. It's not only MD, but there's a whole bunch of, so to speak, alphabet soup of providers that help maximize the patient's function. PT, OT, ST, social work, RN, many more. There's a lot more in there. The point of this is if you're entering your PM&R rotation, just be aware and be ready to shift your perspectives, your thoughts, and your approach on treating your patient. Now, how do we demonstrate if we're a student and we want to show that we are really serious about PM&R and we want to excel in it? Well, there are a lot of rehab-specific things you can study and learn about, like the FIM score, the Functional Independent Measure, their rehab goals, and being able to articulate that in terms of what your specific rehab goals are for your patient. That really shows you are functioning at the level of an intern. It's the whole point of a sub-I. Team player, huge. I know everyone talks about that, but really the field of PM&R is very team-based. There are multiple people working to the same goal, all for that patient, and to be able to meld those minds together and have everyone work towards a common goal is crucial for the MD. One other thing that has been very successful for the students that have rotated here is the proactive nature, reaching out to your attendings and asking, can I present something? I want to just talk about something. Perhaps it's a patient that you saw in clinic or in inpatient, or just present a topic that you're interested in. That proactive nature goes a long way. This is basically what you're going to do anyway in residency, so you might as well get good at it as a sub-I. Okay, now on to the interview, and well, unfortunately the interview landscape has certainly changed from the way it used to be. These slots fill up fast, really quickly. You may not get the ideal one, and you may have trouble scheduling them since you're balancing all your other clinical duties. So you got to be right on it. Some students go so far as getting their phone notifications ready, having a friend kind of answer the phone if you're on call or you're running around in the hospital. And you're busy, to have someone else help you in the scheduling, because it is a competitive environment now. Now, how about some, insider tips, so to speak? While some programs use the MMI format, still a lot of them are doing the traditional one-on-one interviews where you really get a chance to get to know that interviewer and interviewee. If you are in that situation, you're kind of lucky. I would recommend to jump right on all their social media pages, get to know all the people in the program so you can talk about them, make your face familiar to them. If you can get on their socials and just make yourself known, then you're going to seem a little more like a familiar face and you may stand out a little more during the interviews. Another thing, get to know the program coordinators, not the MD program director, but the program coordinators, because they are often quite responsive. They have to be. It's the nature of their job. And they can have some pull, and they often have the ears of the program director, and they might even have a little bit of influence. So if you can get in good with the program coordinators, that might impact your chances. And again, here, the general summary of the interview process. I like to box these out because it helps. You're going to get the standard questions, right? Why are you going into PM&R? Tell me about this on your CV. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And of course, the memorable patient story is requisite in almost every interview. So really be ready for that. Now, some final tips here. PM&R is not a large field. It is small and often can be tight-knit, and a lot of people know each other in the field. So therefore, if you're on the application trail and you're going through, interview to interview, your professionalism is and reputation is quite critical and sometimes can make or break. It is a very small size here. If you really do something, well, inappropriate in terms of your behavior or your actions or your comments in one program in one hospital, a lot of people talk to each other and there's a lot of communication, and that may unfortunately spread to other programs. So please be appropriate, be nice, be kind, be courteous, be professional. Don't talk down, talk negatively, because for better or for worse, those comments can get around. So please keep it professional, and you'll be successful. So in PM&R, being holistic in your approach to the treatment of the patient is going to benefit you. Having a holistic application as well, having that narrative, right? Journal all your patient experiences. It is going to really help and make you stand out. Professionalism is important, and please do not spread negative comments and be inappropriate. Professionalism is key here. So hope that helped. A little more in-depth view on your application journey in PM&R. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, anytime.